Now You See Me Too has been on my list for quite a while. And the only reason I didn't watch it immediately after watching the first film, I think I watched the first film quite a while after it was released, so this film might have already existed at that point, but the first film was quite intense. So I decided to have a break before watching this. I didn't expect the break to be so long, but I'm now trying to watch all of Woody Harrelson's films, so I thought, let's give it a go. I'm in the mood for it. Let's see what it's like. Honestly, I found it to be kind of dull. It's quite different. It feels different to the first film. So I will talk about what I mean by that, but I won't go into any spoiler detail, just in case you do decide to watch it. This was released in 2016. It's directed by Jon M. Chou. It's written by Ed Solomon. And we have a brilliant cast, of course. We have Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, obviously Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, Daniel Radcliffe, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman. Love the cast. Absolutely no issues there. I feel like where it lets itself down, or at least where I didn't enjoy it, is the narrative. It's an interesting concept. In a very small nutshell, somebody is planning on releasing this phone that's going to capture everybody's information. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. So the horsemen are called in to try and rectify this problem through their very clever, intricate ways. And it sounds like it could have been really interesting, but I just found it to be very dry and not as fun. I feel like the first film was clever, it was intricate, and it was fun, and it was engaging. This one just feels a little bit messy. It's overly complicated. It's not impossible to follow, but I feel like there were one too many twists and turns for my liking. And the film is about 2 hours as well, so that's a very long time to have to try and keep up with a pretty messy narrative that's got maybe one or two too many characters and too many turns that I particularly didn't care for. And the first film as well did require a lot of concentration. It was quite complex, but I feel like this film takes it a step further to the point where it's not really, for me at least, an enjoyable experience. It felt too much like hard work, and generally that's not what I look for in a film. That being said, it's possible to follow it. It's not too complicated, but it's a lot. It's very, very, very demanding, and I didn't really enjoy that part of it. And then we have just the narrative itself, the specifics of what happens. I just found it to be really slow, really boring. The locations weren't that interesting. We go to different places. I don't want to give it away too much, but to begin with, it was quite interesting. But as it went on, I found that it just became very dull and not fun, not exciting. The performances were really good, and I have to say I did like the character of Lula. She's played by Lizzy Caplan. I thought she was quite an interesting character, and I'd say most of the main characters actually were quite interesting, but we have a lot of other characters, many of whom I just felt like didn't really serve that much of a purpose. It's a bit too busy and not very entertaining and overly complicated and not very fun, and it basically removes what I think are the great elements of the first film and presents a narrative that's just a bit of a mess and not very engaging. It's not horrendous, it is watchable, and the performances are very good. The editing is good, we have some decent camera angles and things, so that's okay, some nice special effects. But the story was just not great. Do I recommend it? If you've seen and liked the first film, sure, give it a go. There will absolutely be elements in this that you enjoy, but I will say I don't think it comes anywhere near the quality of the first film. And one might argue, well, it's a sequel, they don't usually. That's fair enough, but sometimes sequels can actually be better than the first film. Needless to say, that's not the case with Now You See Me Too. If you didn't like the first film, I'd say you're probably not going to like this film. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I doubt that you would enjoy it, but I'd love to know what you think of it either way. I'm glad I can say I finally watched it because it has been on my list for quite a few years, but it's definitely not one that I'd be watching again. I only recommend it if you loved the first film, but otherwise, I'd say it's probably not worth it.